The wind had teeth that morning. Ellis kept his coat zipped high and his head low as he trudged through the snowdrift toward the comms array. The antennas loomed like skeletal fingers above the ruined tundra, their blackened tips coated in ice. He hadn't spoken to a soul in 3 years. Not since the grid fell and the surface cities choked on their own silence. Up here, Station E-17, Ellis was supposed to monitor radioactivity and run diagnostics on Cold War satellites. A post-retirement gig. Simple. Solitary. But something had changed last night. At exactly 2:37 a.m., the emergency band had come alive. A voice. Garbled. Whispering beneath static like it was clawing through time. Ellis hadn't imagined it. He'd recorded the whole thing on his backup reel. And now he sat in the flickering light of the control room, headphones pressed tight, listening again. If, yo, he, us, plea. Then a burst of interference. A frequency pulse not logged in any military or deep space registry. Ellis checked again. Nothing matched. Not orbital debris, not solar flare residue. The hairs on his arms rose. He typed in a manual override and sent a request to an ancient probe buried in the snow 2 miles west. Most of the gear was scrap now, but it still pinged out occasional weather reads. As the machine hummed, the signal crackled to life again. Only now, it was clearer. Ellis. If you can hear this, you have to stop the relay. They know it's active. He froze. The voice was deeper now. Older. And unmistakably his own. Ellis didn't move for nearly a minute. His own voice, older, strained, echoed in his ears. You have to stop the relay. Back inside, Ellis double-checked the perimeter. No breaches. No broken locks. But he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He sat at the console and reviewed the transmission logs again. There was something new. A second message. Just uploaded. Same frequency. This one was shorter. Do not respond. It's listening. Ellis gritted his teeth. His reflection stared back from the blank monitor. He'd lived alone so long that solitude felt like skin. But now it wrapped around him like a trap. It's listening. What was? He checked the probe's sensor data. Something was moving west of the ridge. Large. Human-sized. But it wasn't transmitting heat like a normal body. The infrared showed it pulsing, flickering in and out of frame. Ellis switched on the long-range mic. And froze. Faint. Barely audible. But underneath the wind. A voice. His voice. Calling for help. Ellis didn't sleep. Instead, he sat in the dark, listening to his own voice echo from the frozen hills. The same sentence, repeated every 30 seconds. Help me. Please, I can't hold it back much longer. He watched the waveform. It was perfectly consistent. No deviation. No human randomness. Not even in the breaths between words. A machine? A loop? But how did it know his voice? And what was he supposed to be holding back? By dawn, the wind had died. A window. Brief. Dangerous. Ellis packed a satchel, rations, batteries, flare gun. He downloaded the broadcast logs to a secure drive and left the rest. He had to find the source. 2 hours west, beyond the ridge, was dead ground, no plants, no wildlife. Just fractured ice and the carcass of an old satellite dish, its steel skeleton twisted like bone. The signal grew stronger as Ellis neared it. And then, there it was. A structure. Half buried. Metal doors pried open. A bunker. Government make, but newer than Cold War tech. Ellis stepped inside. The hallway descended at a steep angle, lined with peeling hazard signs and warning lights long gone dark. In the main chamber, monitors flickered to life the moment he stepped through the threshold. A voice filled the room. His voice. Ellis. If you're hearing this, I failed. The relay broadcasted. It found us. Ellis stared at the screen. A man sat in the same chair he'd used at Station E-17. Same scars. Same silver beard. Just more tired. More worn. The video continued. They don't come all at once. First, you hear yourself. Then you see it. Then it takes your face. Ellis's stomach turned. They don't kill. They replace. One by one. World by world. The figure leaned forward. This signal, it isn't a warning. It's a lure. The feed cut out. Behind him, something moved. Ellis spun, rifle raised. Nothing. The hallway was empty. Then he locked himself in the comms room. The signal still pulsed. Repeating. Help me. Please, I can't hold it back much longer. Ellis ran the waveform through a deep analysis. It wasn't just a voice transmission. It carried an embedded pattern, subsonic. Subliminal. Something that affected the brain's mirror neurons. A code designed to replicate. He remembered the old experiments, the Cold War whispers about neural resonance. Mimicry frequencies. Technology that could hijack identity, replicate thought. But it had been abandoned. Too unstable. Too dangerous. Unless someone finished it. Unless someone turned it into a weapon. He pulled up the last clean footage from the security feed. One frame, one moment, where a figure passed the camera at 2:41 a.m. It was him. But stripped of warmth. His gait was just slightly too smooth. His eyes too still. It hadn't come to kill him. It had come to replace him. The generator cut out. The lights died. Ellis sat in total silence. And then. A knock. Not on the door. On the glass. He turned slowly. Outside the control room window, peering in. Himself. Pale. Expressionless. It smiled. And mouthed. Let me in. The wind howled again. Harder now. Like something screaming. He didn't look back. Behind him, the figure followed, slowly, carefully, climbing the ridge as if it had all the time in the world. Ellis reached the cliff's edge and dropped the lead case into a crevasse. 50 feet of ice. Buried. Safe. Then he turned, rifle raised. The thing that looked like him stood 10 feet away. It spoke. Not with a mouth. But inside his head. You can't stop it. We are already in the signal. Already in the voice. Every word you speak, every frequency you touch. It tilted its head. You make more of us. Ellis smiled grimly. Then hit the detonator. The explosion tore through the mountain like a buried god awakening. A plume of fire and smoke rose behind Ellis as he dove behind a snowbank. The blast knocked him flat. Heat followed, a rushing wall that burned the air and seared the sky. Then silence. Just wind and falling ash. The station was gone. The relay destroyed. The mimic, whatever it was, incinerated in the inferno. Ellis lay there for a long time, staring at the sky. Breathing. Alive. And alone again. He stayed that way until morning, when the emergency beacon on his backup sled finally pinged a passing satellite. A rescue drone would arrive in 3 days, assuming the weather held. He didn't care. He'd wait. He'd earned the wait. He descended into the lower pass where the crevasse yawned open, the place where he'd hidden the secure drive. No footprints marred the snow. No shadows moved behind him. No echoes in the static. It's over. 3 days later. Mainland, Black Ridge Recovery Outpost. Ellis sat in a thermal blanket, sipping burnt coffee, half listening to a young technician debrief him in a quiet room filled with humming consoles. "We retrieved your sled logs and recovered the drive you mentioned. Some signal interference corrupted portions of the files, but we're running deep reconstruction. Should be ready for analysis in a day or two." Ellis nodded. He barely heard her. He hadn't slept since the blast. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his own face staring back from the glass. "You're lucky," the tech added. "Another hour and we might have lost you too." He gave a weak smile. "Wouldn't be the first time." She paused. "I'm sorry." But he didn't reply. That night, Ellis lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. He had done what he had to. Stopped the mimic. Destroyed the relay. Buried the evidence. No signal. No copy. No spread. And yet, down the hallway, in the decryption lab, a monitor flickered. A file finished rendering. Recovered audio. File name, Ellis_final_002. It began to play. Ellis's voice, ragged and urgent. "If you're hearing this, it's already too late." 3 weeks later. Somewhere in Arizona, a trucker twisted the dial of his CB radio, searching for music as he drove through the desert night. Just static. Then. "Help me. Please, I can't hold it back much longer." He frowned. "What the hell?" The voice repeated. Familiar. Human. Scared. He turned the dial. Same voice. Same plea. "Can't hold it back much longer." The trucker leaned in. Unaware of the pale figure crouched just beyond his headlights, watching from the side of the road. Entry 18, subject, Ellis Rowan. Status, physically recovered. Mentally unstable. Interview transcript excerpt. Interviewer, "You destroyed the station. But the signal, how do you know it didn't survive?" Ellis, "I don't. That's the point. You can't destroy sound once it's heard. It lives in memory. In echo. In the part of your brain that recognizes yourself." Interviewer, "So what do we do?" Ellis, "You don't listen." Interviewer, "Excuse me?" Ellis, "You don't listen. Not to the recordings. Not to the logs. Not even to me." Silence. Ellis, whispers, "Because I'm not sure I'm still me." That was the last broadcast. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Got theories? Drop them in the comments. And remember, if you ever hear your own voice on the radio, don't listen.